What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back with yet another album review, and, well, I did have a poll up for this recently, but I decided to kind of go against the poll because I've heard a lot of people talk about this album, and I thought, you know what, I think this might be more interesting to talk about than the other album I was thinking about. So today I am talking about the latest offering from Marilyn Manson, Assassination Under God, Chapter 1. This also came out on November 22nd, this time on Nuclear Blast Records. This is actually the band's debut on Nuclear Blast. And of course, Marilyn Manson, we all should know about him at this point. He's been a legendary yet controversial figure in the rock metal world since the mid-90s when he came out. But I'll just say, I've only been a mild fan of Marilyn Manson, like mostly songs. Like, I like some songs. I mean, how I got into his stuff was courtesy of pro wrestling, because The Beautiful People was the WWE SmackDown theme song from 2001 through 2003. So that's how I first heard about Marilyn Manson, and then of course I went back and listened to other songs like Get Your Gun and Lunchbox, their amazing cover of Sweet Dreams, and other songs. So it's like mostly songs. Like, I'm not as into his albums per se, because I know Manson albums can be quite eclectic and perhaps to some people a bit uneven. But I heard that this was kind of like a bit of a comeback for Marilyn Manson as a whole, so I figured, you know what, considering this is also on Nuclear Blast, a metal label, I figured, you know what, let's give this album a fair shake. So we kick things off with the title track, and right off the rip, synths and the eerie tension building in the background, mostly being driven by Manson's vocals, which I'll talk more about Manson's vocals when we get to the end of this review. But yeah, it builds up in a very eerie way, and then it's kind of more, I don't know if I would say doomy is the right word, but it's kind of got a doomy mood to it. It's a slower song, it's kind of fitting with like a slow, like alternative doom kind of feel. But there's also some like chugging riffs, like there's some punch to some of these guitars, which Tyler Bates, the guitarist, not only is he a phenomenal guitarist, but he's an amazing musician and composer. I mean, he's mostly known for being a film and television composer. I mean, hell, he's done work with Rob Zombie, James Gunn. I mean, hell, he's done Marvel movie compositions. Like, he's super talented, and he definitely showcases, I would say, across the board on this entire album, he kind of showcases a little bit of like a heavy blues influence, because you hear a lot of like blues moments, which Manson's albums in the past have certainly had blues moments, like Mechanical Animals and The Pale Emperor. Like, I do know about how those two albums had more of a blues rock kind of feel to it. But what was interesting here with this title track, it has some nice groove to it, and even a dissonant melody, which I don't think of Marilyn Manson when I think dissonance, the furthest thing. But I thought this dissonant melody that popped up here on the title track was pretty creative. Then No Funeral Without Applause. This one starts off with like a dark, clean melody, and throughout the song it kind of feels like a modernized, inspired grunge song. Like, the riffs and the mood kind of made me think of Nirvana's Heart-Shaped Box. Like, in the rhythms, it's pretty similar, and also smooth bass line. Like, I will say Tyler Bates doing the bass on this album definitely helped out a lot, because he's able to create some cool, like, bass lines, maybe even incorporate a little bass melody into the music. So Tyler Bates really went all out, I feel like, with his musicianship on here. Not If You Understand, again, a really cool bass groove to start it off, but then it gets into more energetic up-tempo rhythms and riffs, and then it's just a straight-up, flat-out rocker, and I actually kind of like the song for just being just a straight-up rocker that doesn't have to be anything grandiose or complicated or complex or anything like that. Plus, there was actually a pretty cool breakdown with a nice soothing guitar solo that comes in, and even a really cool like double bass drum ending, which I thought was pretty interesting. As Sick as the Secrets Within, one of the more eerie songs of the album, like eerie melodies, bass groove, somber, clean melodies come up, but the song itself feels like classic Marilyn Manson, like dating back to Portrait of an American Family. Like, it kind of reminded me of the song Lunchbox a little bit. Sacrilegious, this is one of the more bluesy songs. Like, this song almost feels like it could have been a deep cut off of Mechanical Animals or The Pale Emperor, as there's some nice blues swings. Now, I don't know if it's a saxophone, but it sounds like there's saxophone on this song, or hell, it could just be a saxophone setting on the keyboards to make it sound like a saxophone, because I don't know. It just sounded interesting and cool to me, but some really cool riff and bass grooves going on. Death is not a costume. There's some like weird fly buzzing sound effects with the guitars. But the song as its whole, mostly about the bass and the clean melodies, and again, kind of brings in a bit of a grungy feel to it. Meet Me in Purgatory, this definitely feels like it could have been on The Pale Emperor, as the riffs and the rhythms feel directly from that album, but it also has like a bit of a 70s psychedelic feel to it, which is pretty interesting. Raise the Red Flag, this might have been one of the heavier songs on the album, along with the title track. Gritty riffs. I gotta say, like, the guitar tone on this track, very gritty, and also, like, lyrically, it's got that classic Marilyn Manson angst behind it. But it definitely feels like it's geared more towards a concert song. And then the closing track, Sacrifice of the Mass, longest track of the album at over 6 minutes. And this is actually maybe my favorite on the album. Somber acoustic guitars and clean guitars. And it's kind of an earnest song, which I definitely don't think earnest when I think of Marilyn Manson, but this is kind of an earnest, heartfelt song, though it does turn dark, like it does go through like a dark dynamic shift in the middle before it returns to the somberness. And the guitar solo on this track was kind of reminiscent of something David Gilmour would have done in terms of being more atmospheric and had more feeling behind it. Production wise, I actually kind of like the production. Like, it doesn't sound overproduced. It actually, like, the drums sound more organic on certain songs. Granted, there are other songs where there's some like industrial effects on the drums to make it sound mechanical, but whenever it's not industrial, like, they do sound natural. The guitar tones, when it's heavy, it's more like a hard rock alternative metal heavy, not so much like super metal heavy, which it doesn't have to be. But the clean tones I thought were pretty tasteful. And of course, like I said, musically, it's all eclectic. Like, there's moments I touch on a lot of different eras of Manson's career. Now, the big complaint that I have about this album, and it definitely drags this album down for me, are Marilyn Manson's vocals, particularly when there's effects being done to him. Like, Manson's a solid vocalist. Like, he's not ever been my cup of tea, but I can understand why people like his vocals. Like, he's got like power behind them, or he does it to feel a little creepy, which he has a solid voice. I'm not going to take that away from him, but I feel like when you have a decent enough vocal, I don't think you need a whole lot of effects to get your point across. Like, there's a lot of songs where they do like speech effects on his vocals, which maybe on one song it's fine, but on a couple of songs it can feel a bit much. And yeah, there sounds like there could have been some studio trickery going on, but he's serviceable on this album, I will give him that. So musically, I don't think there's a bad song on here musically. I just feel like you take out the effects on the vocals, and I think it would have helped this album out a little bit more. But with all that said, I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5. I thought this was actually a pretty good album musically. And of course, the star of the show here was Tyler Bates, like, coming up with some cool, like, old school bluesy, even grungy riffs. And his bass work, I actually really like the bass work on here. So to me, Tyler Bates was the big MVP on here. But yeah, 3 out of 5. It's good. I don't think it's great by any stretch of the imagination. I definitely think some people overrate this album. But I'm not saying it's bad. It's still good. However, if I'm going to listen to Marilyn Manson, I'm going to stick to the old stuff. But of course, those are just my opinions. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Thank you for watching. Keep your horns high and your dreams wet.
Thank you for your patronage.